Good morning. It is indeed a great honor and a pleasure to welcome you all to our virtual celebration of the life and legacy of Talbot County, Maryland's most famous native son, Frederick Douglass. I am Harriette Lowery, a founding member of the Frederick Douglass Honor Society and the Frederick Douglass Day Committee. I am especially pleased to recognize the Frederick Douglass Honor Society's event partners, the town of Easton, the Talbot County Free Library, and Talbot County. We are most grateful that this year's event is made possible by our premier sponsor, Mr. and Mrs. Paul B. Prager, the Talbot County Arts Council, Maryland Arts Council, the town of Easton, and our many other donors. The support of our generous contributors provides us the opportunity to present such an amazing tribute to one of the greatest American heroes and voices for justice and freedom who ever lived. Delivering today's invocation is Reverend William T. Wallace Sr., an elder and full member of the Peninsula Delaware Conference of the United Methodist Church. He is an advocate for justice, equality, and human dignity for all. A member of good standing in the NAACP, an improved benevolent protective order of elk of the world. A member of the board of directors of the Midshore Mediation and other community-based organizations. Reverend Wallace has a Bachelor's of Arts in Social Work, a Master's of Divinity, and Doctor of Ministry from Wesley Theological Seminary. And he's presently the pastor of Union United Methodist Church in St. Michael's, Maryland, and the new St. John's United Methodist Church in Whitman, Maryland.
May your grace, O God, may your mercy and your love receive our prayer of joy today as we celebrate the legacy of Mr. Frederick Douglass. Our hearts, spirits, and souls rejoice because you called him during a difficult time to advance the cause of freedom. We are especially grateful for the wisdom and tenacity you gave him. As we celebrate his legacy, impart within us the grace to declare any and all ideologies and practices inconsistent with your demand for justice and freedom, for they are blatant disregards of your teaching. Embolden those who fight for freedom and justice. His call for enslaved peoples to be free is the same as today's chants of Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe, and say their names. Allow those chants to ring clear and loud until they transform us. Allow those chants to strike at the hearts until the dehumanizing conditions of institutional and systemic racism cease suffocating your peoples. Thank you, Eternal Creator, for this insight in regards to the reckless and discriminatory use of power, as well as the understanding that power concedes nothing without a demand. Grant us the fortitude to resist abusive power, because when people resist the misuse of power, change occurs. A new normal is birthed. By your grace and creative genius, all human beings are bound together to live in community, to be sisters and brothers. Yet some believe they are to dominate, oppress, and suppress others. Forgive us, O God of love. We have violated your command for community when we choose who is privileged and who is disdained. Forgive us, O God of grace. Thank you for those who are moving the United States of America to the fulfillment of this amazing gift of your beloved community for all. Open our ears to hear anew, as Mr. Douglass did. There should neither be rich nor poor, no high nor low, nor white nor black, but a common country, a common citizenship, equal rights, and a common destiny. Move us to that reality where social status does not determine who has rights and opportunities, opposed to those who do not. Move us to fulfill the country's declaration of equity and justice equally for all, and then we shall be one nation under God. As Mr. Douglas' insights taught us, and our prayers are significant. Our prayers empower us to do the work with our feet. Thank you for those who work to remove the chains from our minds, who encourage us to break the chains from our necks, remove the knees and feet that suffocate us, such that we all will breathe the invigorating breath of life. For this we pray and ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Wallace, for sharing such meaningful and much needed words with all of us today. It is fitting that I stand here today by the Frederick Douglass Memorial Statue as a reminder that in this great country, anything is possible with faith, courage, and determination. Born into slavery in 1818, Frederick Douglass rose up to liberate himself and others. The journey was strenuous, humiliating, and sometimes bloody, tiresome, but also glorious. I have made up my mind that wherever I go, I shall go as a man and not as a slave, said Frederick Douglass, and so he did. Douglass is remembered as one of the most powerful lecturers and, and authors in American history. He was the most prominent human rights leader of the 19th century, and his oratorical and literary brilliance placed him in the forefront of the United States abolitionist movement. One of his most famous lectures, Self Made Man, was first delivered in 1859 when Douglass visited Talbot County during November 1878. He delivered his speech in the main room of the Talbot County Courthouse. We are honored to have Terron Quailes deliver Douglass's famous speech. Terron is an Easton High School graduate. He made his musical theater debut in Easton High School's 2005 musical Ragtime. He received his BA in vocal performance from Salisbury University. He has performed in numerous plays ranging from Porgy and Bess, The Color Purple, Dreamgirls, and played Martin Luther King in The Meeting. Terron is currently living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he has been a member of the Sight and Sound cast for the past few years.
I am here to speak to you of a peculiar type of manhood under the title of self-made men. That there is, in more respects than one, something like a stoicism in title, I freely admit. Properly speaking, there are in the world no such men as self-made men. That term implies an individual independence of the past and present which can never exist. Our best and most valued acquisitions have been obtained either from our contemporaries or from those who have preceded us in the field of thought and discovery. We have all either begged, borrowed, or stolen. We have reaped where others have sown, and that which others have strewn, we have gathered. It must in truth be said, though it may not accord well with self-conscious individuality and self-conceit, that no possible native force of character and no depth of wealth and originality can lift a man into absolute independence of his fellow men, and no generation of men can be independent of the preceding generation. The brotherhood and interdependence of mankind are guarded and defended at all points. I believe in individuality, but individuals are to the mass like waves to the ocean. The highest order of genius is as dependent as is the lowest. It, like the loftiest of waves of the sea, derives its power and greatness from the grandeur and vastness of the oceans of which it forms a part. We differ as waves, but are one as the sea. To do something well does not necessarily imply the ability to do everything equally well. If you do in one direction which I cannot do, I may in another direction be able to do that which you cannot do. Thus, the balance of power is comparably even, and self-acting brotherhood and interdependence is maintained. Self-made men are the men who, under peculiar difficulties and without the ordinary help of favorable circumstances, have attained knowledge, usefulness, power, and position, and have learned from themselves the best uses to build up working character. They are the men who owe little or nothing to birth, relationship, friendly surroundings, to wealth inherited, or to early approved means of education, who are what they are without the aid of any of the favoring conditions by which other men usually rise in the world and achieve great results. In fact, they are the men who are not brought up, but who are obliged to come up, not only without voluntary assistance or friendly cooperation of society, but often in open and derisive defiance of all efforts of society and the tendency of circumstances to repress, retard, and keep them down. They are the men who, in a world of schools, academies, colleges, and other institutions of learning, are often compelled by unfriendly circumstances to acquire their education elsewhere and amidst unfavorable conditions, to hew out for themselves a way of success, and thus to become the architects of their own good fortunes. They are, in a peculiar sense, indebted to themselves for themselves. If they traveled far, they have made the road on which they traveled. If they have ascended high, they have made the ladder on which they have ascended. Such men as these, whether found in one position or another, whether in college or in factory, whether professors or plowmen, whether Caucasian or Indian, whether Anglo-Saxon or Anglo-African, are self-made men and are entitled to a certain measure of respect for their success and for proving to the world the grandest possibility of human nature, of whatever variety of race, of color. Though a man of this class need not claim to be a hero or to be worshipped as such, there is a genuine heroism in this struggle and something of sublimity and glory in his triumph. Every instance of such success is an example and help to humanity. It, better than any mere assertion, gives us assurance of the latent powers and resources of simple and unaided manhood. It dignifies labor, honors application, lessens pain and depression, dispels gloom from the brow of the destitute and weariness from the heart of him about to faint, and enables man to take hold of the roughest and flintiest hardships, incidents to the battle of life, with a lighter heart, with higher hopes and a larger courage. The various conditions of men and the different uses they make of their powers and opportunities in life are full of puzzling contrasts and contradictions. Here, as elsewhere, it is easy to dogmatize, but it is not easy to define, explain, and demonstrate. The natural laws for government, well-being, and progress of mankind seem to be equal and are equal, but the subjects of these laws everywhere abound in inequalities, discords, and contrast. We cannot have fruit without flowers, but we often have flowers without fruit. The promise of youth often breaks down in manhood, and real excellence often comes unheralded and from unexpected quarters. The scene presented from this view is 1,000 arrows shot from the same point, aimed at the same object. United in aim, they are divided in flight. Some fly too high, others fly too low. Some go to the right, others to the left. Some fly too far, and others not far enough. And only a few hit the mark. Such is life. United in the quiver, they are divided in the air. Matched when dormant, they are unmatched in action. When we attempt to account for greatness, we never get nearer to the truth than did the greatest of poets and philosophers when they classify the conditions of greatness. Some are born great. Some achieve greatness. And some have greatness thrust upon them. Much can certainly be said of superior mental endowments, and I should on some accounts lean strong to that theory. But for numerous examples which and do contradict it, and for the depressing tendency such a theory must have on humanity generally, this theory has truth in it, but it is not the whole truth. Men of very ordinary faculties have nevertheless made a very respectable way in the world and have sometimes presented even brilliant examples to success. On the other hand, what is called genius is often found by the wayside, a miserable wreck. The more deplorable and shocking because from the height from it has fallen and the loss and ruin involved in the fall. I do not think much of the good luck theory of self-made men. It is worth but little attention and has no practical value. An apple carelessly flung into a crowd may hit one person, or it may hit another, or it may hit nobody. The probabilities are precisely the same in this action and in this accident theory of self-made men. It divorces a man from his own achievements, contemplates him as being of chance, and leaves him without will, motive, ambition, and aspiration. Yet the accident theory is among the most popular theories of individual success. It has about it an air of mystery, which the multitude so well like, and withal it does something to mar the complacency of the successful. It is one of the easiest and commonest things in the world for a successful man to be followed in his career through life and to have constantly pointed out this or that particular stroke of good fortune which fixed his destiny and made him successful. If not ourselves great, we like to explain why others are so. We are stingy in our praise to merit, but generous in ours to chance. Besides, a man feels himself measurably great when he can point out the precise moment and circumstance which made his neighbor great. He easily fancies that the slight difference between himself and his friend is simply one of luck. It was his friend who was lucky, but it might easily have been himself. Then, too, the next best thing to success is a valid apology for non-success. Detraction is, to many, a delicious morsel. The excellence which it loudly denies to others is silently claims for itself. It possesses the morsel. It possesses the means of covering the small with glory of the great. It adds to failure that which it takes from success. It shortens the distance between those in front and those in the rear. Even here, there is an upward tendency worthy of notice and respect. The kitchen is ever the critic of the parlor. The talk of those below is of those above. We imitate those whom we revere and admire. When we find a man who has ascended heights beyond ourselves, who has a broader range of vision than we and a sky with more stars in it than ours, we may know that he has worked harder, better and more wisely than we. He was awake while we slept. He was busy while we were idle and was wisely improving his time and talents while we were wasting ours. A man at times gets something for nothing, but it will in his hands amount to nothing. What is true in the world of matter is equally true in the world of mind. Without culture, there can be no growth. Without exertion, no acquisition. Without friction, no polish. Without labor, no knowledge. Without action, no progress. And without conflict, no victory. A man that lies down a fool at night, hoping that he will waken wise in the morning, will wake up in the morning as he laid down in the evening. From these remarks, it will be evident that, allowing only ordinary ability and opportunity, we may explain success mainly by one word. That word is work. Work, work, work. Not transient and fitful effort, but patient, enduring, honest, unremitting, and indefatigable work into which the whole heart is put, and which in both temporal and affairs is the true miracle worker. There is no royal road to perfection. Everyone may avail himself of this marvelous power if he will. The lesson taught at this point by human experience is simply this: that the man who will get up will be helped up, and the man who will not get up will be allowed to stay down. This rule may appear somewhat harsh, but in its general application and operation, it is wise, just, and beneficent. Personal independence is a virtue, and it is the soul out of which comes the sturdiest manhood. But there can be no independence without a large share of self-dependence. And this virtue cannot be bestowed. It must be developed from within.
Thank you, Terron, for delivering a remarkable glimpse of our history as penned and spoken by Frederick Douglass.
I'm Ray Remish, Minister of Contemporary Music at Christ Church in Easton, House Manager of Groove Theater in Cambridge, and Music Teacher for Talbot County Public Schools at Tillman and St. Michael's Elementary. I feel honored to be with you today and to introduce a video that I helped to put together last spring with 30 students and teachers from Easton Middle, Easton High School, and St. Michael's Middle High School. What you're about to see is a virtual choir rendition of We Shall Overcome. It's based on a tune by the Reverend Dr. Charles Albert Tinley, who was born just south of here in Berlin, Maryland in 1851, when Frederick was just a young man of 33. The version that we know today can be traced back to a labor protest in Charleston, South Carolina in 1945. It was first published by an organization called People's Songs, founded in part by American songwriter Pete Seeger. In the 1960s, it became a central anthem of the civil rights movement, and many protest movements since then.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
Thank you, Easton High School, Easton Middle School, and St. Michael's High School for your beautiful music and extraordinary talent. We also want to thank the teachers for their commitment to building excellent young citizens and incredibly talented musicians. The late great poet Robert Hayden was born Asa Bundy Sheffy into a poor family in the Paradise Valley neighborhood of Detroit. He had an emotional, traumatic childhood and was raised in part by his foster family. Due to extreme nearsightedness, Hayden turned to books rather than sports during his childhood. He graduated from high school in 1932, attended Detroit City College, and later earned a graduate degree in English literature from the University of Michigan. He was the first African American to be appointed as consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress. He published many collections of poetry, and his A Ballad of Remembrance won the grand prize at the first World Festival of Negro Arts in Dakar, Senegal. We are honored to have Bill Peake read one of our favorite Robert Hayden poems, Frederick Douglass. Freedom is a central theme throughout the poem, playing on Frederick Douglass's famous quote, "You have seen how a man was made a slave. You shall see how a slave was made a man."
Read a poem today for you that's just a magnificent poem about a magnificent man. And in case I butcher it, I would very much appreciate it if you would take the time after this is all over to look this up online and read it online, because it's an excellent poem. This is Frederick Douglass by the poet Robert Hayden. When it is finally ours, this freedom, this liberty, this beautiful and terrible thing, needful to man as air, usable as earth, when it belongs at last to all, when it is truly instinct, brain matter, diastole, systole, reflex action, when it is finally one, when it is more than the gaudy mumbo jumbo of politicians, this man, this Douglass, this former slave, this Negro beaten to his knees, exiled, visioning a world where none is lonely, none hunted, alien. This man, superb in logic and love, this man shall be remembered. Oh, not with statues' rhetoric, not with legends and poems and wreaths of bronze alone, but with the lives grown out of his life, the lives fleshing his dream of the beautiful, needful thing. And I want to dedicate that reading to the late Eric Lowery, president of the Frederick Douglass Honor Society, whose life certainly fleshed Frederick Douglass's dream of the beautiful, needful thing.
Thank you, Bill, for sharing Robert Hayden's writings with us and graciously honoring Frederick Douglass today. Prior to Bill Peake's recent retirement, he was the communications director for the Talbot County Free Library. Bill's library column is published in the Star Democrat and is always a great read. A collection of his columns entitled Adventures in Shelving was published by the library board in 2016. His other works include the award-winning novel, The Oblate's Confession. Bill received his undergraduate degree from Washington and Lee University and his master's from the creative writing program at Hollins University. He is fondly recognized by our community as the library guy, and he is also proud to be a longtime member of the Frederick Douglass Day Committee. Robert C. Willey served the town of Easton as a council member for 6 years before becoming council president for another 6 years and elected mayor in 2003. For almost 30 years, Mayor Willey has served Easton with dignity, honesty, fiscal responsibility, and a great love for his town and his people. He is a true leader, community supporter, and has served as a secretary, treasurer, and trustee and fireman with the Easton Fire Department. Since 2010, he has worked closely with the Frederick Douglass Honor Society and was a strong leader in our efforts to create and install the Frederick Douglass statue.
Several years ago, when the effort to honor Frederick Douglass took center stage, the work stalled, as sometimes happened in the early stages. It seemed the recognition of Mr. Douglass would disappear for the lack of strong leadership. Then Eric and Harriette Lowery appeared on the scene. They put together a group of folks of all races who could work together and move the project along. There were disagreements, but to their credit, resolutions were reached. The result is what we have today with the statue and ongoing lectures, dinners, etc. Eric passed a few months ago, but Harriette is still leading the group forward. I should have mentioned the group name is Frederick Douglass Honor Society. It is another one of those success stories that makes Easton a great place to live. A much-deserved pat on the back of the Lowerys and their committees. The Frederick Douglass Honor Society is only one of the successes that keeps our town moving forward. A real need is the availability of affordable homes. There are several projects underway to help satisfy the need for that housing. The town of Easton has purchased 6 condemned houses and is currently renovating them for sale to low and moderate income families. One has been completed and sold. One goes on the market this month and one more next month. This all would not happen without the support of our federal government and state and local officials. Easton is a great place to live, but without a job you won't be able to enjoy what is offered. That is why we spend so much time and effort to bring more jobs into the community. The town is struggling to provide enough outdoor activities for everyone. That is also why you see all of the work to upgrade ball fields at Northeastern Park with lights and constant maintenance throughout the town on all the park facilities. A real plus this year has been the work of on the Rails to Trails walking paths and the new bridge at Easton Point. Upgrades to the police department, fire department, roads, and utilities are all things that make improvements in our town. So thank you, Frederick Douglass Honor Society, for helping to keep Easton moving forward for the benefit of all of our citizens.
Thank you, Mayor Willey, for your leadership, vision, and community support, and for always being a part of our annual Frederick Douglass Day celebration. Corey Pack has served the Talbot County Council since his appointment in 2007 to fill a vacancy and currently serves as president of the Talbot County Council. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice at the University of Delaware. Council President Pack retired from the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, where he served as a field supervisor in the Mid-Shore area. Council President Pack has worked closely with the Talbot County Parks and Recreation and Economic Development and Tourism Departments on the Frederick Douglass Park on the Tuckahoe.
Welcome to the virtual Frederick Douglass Day celebration. Hi, I'm Corey Pack, President of the Talbot County Council. We are excited to be here with you today to honor Frederick Douglass and to celebrate the second International Underground Railroad Month in September 2020. Maryland, and specifically Talbot County, continues to be a most powerful Underground Railroad storytelling destination in the world. Here, visitors can travel the footsteps of heroes along the Underground Railroad who risked their lives to escape slavery, and those free and enslaved persons who helped them. By traveling along the Harriette Underground Railroad Byway, Maryland's Frederick Douglass Driving Tour, and along with other interpretive materials, tours, attractions, and guides, visitors travel to the sites and learn from the many freedom seekers and their accomplishments. On Tuesday, September the 1st, 2020, Talbot County was pleased to launch the second annual International Underground Railroad Month with the unveiling of the new outdoor exhibits at the Frederick Douglass Park on the Tuckahoe, located near Douglass's birthplace in Queen Anne. The property for the park, which opened on February 14, 2018, on Frederick Douglass' 200th birthday, was acquired by Maryland Department of Natural Resources Program Open Space Funds and private donations. The new outdoor exhibit, produced by Design Minds, Inc., provides visitors with the information about Douglas's life story and significance of the site, and travel information on other sites around the county and state associated with Frederick Douglass and are part of the ongoing development of this park. In his book, My Bond is My Freedom, Douglass remarks on how important it is to understand where a man is born and raised. He said, "It is always a fact of some importance to know where a man is born, if indeed it be important to know anything about him." The fact of some importance about Frederick Douglass is his 1818 birth on the Tuckahoe Creek in Talbot County. Born to an enslaved mother who named him Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey, he was part of the sixth generation of Baileys here in Talbot County, a lineage that continues today. Of his father, he knew nothing, though he heard rumors that his father was a white man and probably his master. In Talbot County, young Frederick Bailey endured the slave system's many cruelties in breaking the families and crushing of spirits. Still, he had deep roots here with lifelong friend and friendship ties. He escaped from Maryland and claimed his new name in 1838 at the age of 20. Douglass's effect on Talbot County has been lasting. From slave to fugitive to agitator to local hero, Talbot County formed Douglass, and Douglass's resistance and ideals changed Talbot County. His words continue to inspire his many local descendants and fellow citizens. One must wonder if Frederick Douglass could have ever imagined the depths of his legacy when he wrote, "You have seen how a man was made a slave, you shall see how a slave was made a man." His perseverance, intellect, and drive turned his ideas into eternal accomplishments, earning him a place in history and in the hearts of all people of goodwill. An abolitionist, statesman, reformer, and one of the most influential lecturers and authors of American history. His story continues to inspire people around the world, even today.
Thank you, President Pack, for honoring Frederick Douglass today and for working tirelessly to seek the removal of the Confederate statue known to many as the Talbot Boys statue. Catherine Lee Bates, an activist reformer, a teacher, and a writer, penned the lyrics of America the Beautiful. The music was composed by church organist and choir master Samuel A. Ward. The two never met. From a poem to a hymn, and later one of the nation's most beloved patriotic songs, America the Beautiful praised those who came before us and used both our natural and man-made national treasures to help the music's listeners see the value of the social contract that binds us together as a nation. At various times in the more than 100 years since the song was written, there have been efforts to give America the Beautiful legal status either as a national hymn or as a national anthem in place of the Star-Spangled Banner. Proponents prefer Bates and Ward's song, believing it is easier to sing, more melodic, more adaptable to new orchestrations, and does not instill the war-oriented imagery. We are most grateful to have our Talbot County native, Terron Quailes, to share with us his rendition of America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for glory tale of liberating strife. When once and twice for man's avail, men lavished precious life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, till selfish gain no longer stray the banner of the free. Oh, beautiful for patriot's dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, shining sea.
Thank you, Terron. We sincerely appreciate your continued support of the Frederick Douglass Day celebration every year and for being willing to share your beautiful voice with all of us today. Dr. Kelly L. Griffith currently serves as Superintendent of Talbot County Public Schools. She holds a doctorate degree in educational leadership and innovation from Wilmington University and a master's degree in educational administration from Salisbury University. She has been an educator for 35 years, with 30 of those years spent in the Talbot County Public School System.
Thank you so much for inviting me here for Frederick Douglass Day. It's always an honor to be a part of this ceremony. The only thing we're missing here today are my children. I really do enjoy watching the children and hearing the children sing and play. But I do have a message, and what I would like to do is start out by talking a little bit about Frederick Douglass himself. What a brilliant and heroic and courageous man who was definitely determined to shape America's nation. He had a unique message for humanism and social justice. And with these words, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. I think we all know what that means, especially today. He definitely made progress in educating folks with his anti-slavery newspaper titled The North Star, which I find to be really reflective as we use the North Star to guide us in our work. He continued to guide us and lead us to purposeful destination. As superintendent, I acknowledge that public education can and must be an important part in promoting equity, dignity, and respect. I am proud of the role that TCPS has engaged in leading conversations about race in our schools and our efforts to examine our practices and policies to eliminate barriers to educational equity. As Talbot County Public Schools works to align our actions and our behaviors with our values and beliefs, we commit to not just speak courageously, but to act courageously. This means unapologetically interrupting acts of racism that manifest in our schools and our community, actions that lead to the marginalization of our students of color, which we must stop. Talbot County Public Schools worked very, very hard to follow Frederick Douglass's philosophy. and principals by working with a variety of different groups. NAACP, Barbara Peka has been amazing helping us with our curriculum, and also the Frederick Douglass Honor Society. We've been able to re-examine our curriculum to make sure that it is a representation of all demographics. We've included the Negro spirituals into our music department and history, and we've also lined up field trips to visit the Hill, which shows so much history right here in Talbot County. We've trained our support staff and our certified support staff and professional development with Beyond Diversity. So all of our staff has been trained to examine their own racial bias. We examine our data through our strategic plan and really look at our student demographics. And we also created a Vision 2020 plan that was all embraced with equity in mind to make sure that we have an equity lens when we look at our policies and practices. We've worked collaboratively to recruit and retain staff of color, and we do need to continue to work on that to mirror our student population. We empower our students to share their voices at our schools using protocol. Talbot County Public Schools must not remain silent in the trauma of inequities that is compounded in front of us daily. Instead, we must respond through education and modeling for our students. As an organization, we must act to replace complacency with personal accountability. Frederick Douglass also suggested that we empower our community to build strong children with the value of an education rather than work so hard to repair broken men. We all must put our equity lens on to observe what is happening in our community and our world, and we must reflect how each one of us can make a difference in eradicating racism while educating our youth. That is my commitment to Talbot County Public Schools, Talbot County in general, and really, I wish all of you a wonderful day celebrating Frederick Douglass.
Thank you, Dr. Griffin, for helping us honor Frederick Douglass and for all you do to build stronger and well-educated students throughout Talbot County. Dana Newman is the director of Talbot County Free Library. She holds a master's degree in library science and a BS in secondary education English. She is a graduate of the Maryland Library Leadership Institute and a longtime member of the Maryland Library Association, the Public Library Association of Public Library Administrators, among other professional affiliations. Before coming to Talbot County, Dana served as the Chief of Public Services and Branch Management for the Anne Arundel County Library System. In that capacity, she supervised the operations of 15 branch libraries as the library's public service departments.
Good morning. Welcome to Frederick Douglass Day. I'm Dana Newman. I'm the library director, and we all want to welcome you to Frederick Douglass Day. Thank you for being with us today. While we cannot be together in person today, I am glad that we can be together virtually to celebrate Frederick Douglass's legacy as an American abolitionist, a proponent to individual rights, and a champion for freedom. He inspires each of us to ask what we can do to make a difference in our community. When he related his powerful story and his transformation through his speeches and writings, he also illustrated his commitment to a freedom that recognized citizenship for all, promoted equal justice, respected voting rights, and underscored the importance of universal public education. Today, his story and dedication to freedom inspire all of us to act for the good of others and to promote those freedoms ourselves. Frederick Douglass shone a light on and explored questions of race, equality, and the power of education. Douglass credited his freedom in large part to his education, his ability to read and write, and his ability to speak up and speak out. His message then was that education has the power to change lives, and that remains his message today. Not only did he inspire people to act on their conscience, but his speeches and his extraordinary achievements and his leadership informed a national confrontation with the inhumanity of slavery and fired the imagination of people to dream of a nation that was fully free. Our community needs the example of Frederick Douglass today, just as much as they did during his lifetime. A new perspective, a will to change and help others, a spirit of pulling together to help people thrive and grow. Frederick Douglass Day celebrates all that he achieved and inspired. It is a day of education to not only learn and celebrate his achievements and legacy, but to discover, inspire, and reflect. The Talbot County Free Library supports equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility, and encourages constructive conversations toward these goals. I hope that today's celebration will encourage you to have constructive conversations with your family, friends, and neighbors about how we can support equity and diversity in our own community. Today is a day to learn more about Frederick Douglass and to find inspiration to act upon the better urgings of conscience. We have a great day planned, chock full of learning and fun. At 1 o'clock today, author and professor John Stauffer will deliver a lecture on Frederick Douglass. Afterwards, join John and Kendrick Roy for a live question and answer session. At 11 o'clock, watch an interview with Kamal McLaren of the National Park Services, who is the curator at the Cedar Hill Museum, Frederick Douglass's home in Washington, D.C. I want to thank Laura Era, who is donating an original portrait that she has painted of Frederick Douglass to be hung in the Frederick Douglass room of the Easton Library in celebration of his legacy and life. Shauna Beulah, our manager at the St. Michael's Library, will read a children's story about Frederick Douglass. Enjoy these events and much more as we learn about Frederick Douglass's legacy and his commitment to bringing change. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, for your continuous partnership and for all the services the Talbot County Free Library provides our community. Before closing our welcome ceremony with God Bless America, performed by the United States Navy Band, I would like to thank everyone who is watching our celebration and extend a special thank you to the members of the Frederick Douglass Day Committee for their dedication and tireless work to bring you this year's virtual Frederick Douglass Day celebration. And we send a special thank you to the United States Navy Band for sharing their beautiful music with us. Thank you.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans
I'm Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, and on behalf of a grateful state, I want to sincerely thank the Frederick Douglass Honor Society for all that you do in honor of the life and legacy of one of Maryland's greatest freedom fighters.